Hello, everybody. I hope that you're having a fantastic Taco Tuesday. So, I had this scheduled for earlier in the day, and then I was like, oh no, I double booked myself. So, I had to move it to later in the afternoon. But wherever you are watching from, I'm so happy that you're here. I have been kind of MIA on Facebook Lives and YouTube Lives for a little bit because I was doing all these promotions and affiliate programs. And I'm so happy that we're back to our regularly scheduled programming, even though I'm still trying to find the right time that works in my schedule to do this. So tell me in the comments what time works best for you because I want to make sure that we can all get on the same page. So today, first of all, I'm really excited. Hang on. I always do this. Oh, next week, Start a Binge-Worthy podcast comes out. I know I'm going to be, hang on, let me get situated in my chair because thebestpodcastbook.com is where you can pre-order the ebook version. This comes out October 20th, 2020. And I'm so excited. So next Tuesday, 1 week from today, the book will be out. And I'm really excited about it. But today, I wanted to talk to you about here, actually, let me put it up on the screen so I'll make it a little bit easier to know. But y'all, we have published 195 episodes. 195 episodes of the Profit Podcast. That's kind of crazy. Like it's crazy town. 195 episodes. Do you know how much talking that is? That's a lot of talking. And I just started the Potty Report, which is my daily podcast. I think that we hit like 120 something episodes. So altogether, we're getting pretty close to 400 podcast episodes that have been produced in like 2.5 years. That's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. It's really exciting and also a little scary. Hey, Lisa, so happy that you're here. Yes. And 10/10/2020 is the Taco Tuesday. You're brilliant. Oh my gosh. So, yeah, launch day 10/20/2020 is absolutely Taco Tuesday. I knew that I wanted it to come out on a Tuesday. And I am so excited that the book is going to be here soon. Thank you so much, Lisa. You've always been super supportive of the entire process. Oh, y'all, I can't wait. I'm actually working on a YouTube video that is going to show you kind of the behind the scenes of what it was like to write the book and the ups and the downs. And Lisa's been on our book launch team from the very beginning. So she has seen some of the behind the scenes that I haven't really shared publicly everywhere, but that's coming. That's coming very soon. But today's podcast episode is all about what to do whenever you have an extra amount of time on your podcast hosting allowance. So, if you're a Buzzsprout user, then you're going to be very familiar with what this looks like. You log into your Buzzsprout account and then you get in there and it will say you have X amount of hours or minutes remaining in the month. So whenever you join, they give you an allowance basically. Do you remember how your parents used to be like, okay, like you do like for the week, you have $20 or whatever it was, so that you have your allowance. The same thing is true for your podcast hosting provider. They give you a certain number of hours or minutes that you can use throughout the month. So let's just imagine for the month of October, you start on October 1st. You have until October 31st to use all of that time. What happens with that time if you do not use it? It goes away. It does not roll over. You cannot just keep collecting time from month to month. This is your set amount of time and you got to use it. So today's episode was actually born from a conversation that I had with my mom. So shout out Nanette Blair. She has the Edible Gardens podcast. And we were talking and she said, okay, I have like 27 minutes left of my podcast. What do I do? And I was like, what do you mean? And she said, well, I go into my Buzzsprout account and I can see there's like 27 minutes. what happens to that time? And I said, well, it goes away if you don't use it. And she was like, what? So I paid for this time, but it's going to go away. No, 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 no. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use this time. And so in today's episode, you go to crystalprofit.com/episode 195, you will see that there are actually 4 ways that you can use that excess time that you have. And I give you some ideas because I've had other people tell me, well, I got to the end of the month and I realized, man, I had like 20 minutes left and it just went away because I didn't know what to do with it. So I didn't really go into a ton of reasons why you should definitely use that time. I kind of went into the mechanics of how you can use that time. There's bonus episodes, there's interviews, there's other cool strategies that I want you to go listen to today's podcast episode and listen to those and figure them out. But the added perks are if you put out more episodes, that's another opportunity for you to reach your audience. It's another chance for you to get more downloads. It's another chance for you to promote one more thing on social media about your podcast because you're putting out a bonus episode or an extra episode, whatever that looks like for you. And I'm curious. So if you're watching this live or on the replay, tell me in the comments. I'm creating a podcast episode and possibly a YouTube video very soon about bonus content. So if you have questions about what to put in a bonus episode, what's it for? Like, what are the benefits of it? Why do we do them? All the things, let me know in the comments your questions about bonus episodes because I'm going to be doing a podcast and a YouTube video on that very soon. And I want to know what questions you have. And you might just get picked and I may just read your question on the podcast. So that's a fun little thing. So, but that's all I have for you today, guys. I just wanted to hop on and share with you a little bit about today's episode. Make sure you go listen to it because I share some behind the scenes stories and conversations that I've had with my mom, who is an amazing podcaster. And so shout out once again, the Edible Gardens podcast. If you're interested in gardening and learning about edible landscaping, she is your go-to girl. She knows all of the things. And I think that she has been able to help so many people with her podcast. And I love that my mom does this because we talk almost every single day. And being able to talk about podcasting and talk about the struggles and that she's had, and it's really different because we're in different stages. She started her podcast about a year after I started mine. So we tend to help each other when it comes to brainstorming and really trying to figure out where we can tweak things or why certain things are happening the way that they are. So so that was really fun. So was starting scary? Yes, I think starting anything new is scary. It was a little just kind of awkward, to be honest, like putting yourself out there and saying, okay, like this is who I am. I hope people, accept me. There's like a little part of that validation. But then after you put yourself out there and you publish your first few episodes of your podcast, it just really comes down to, okay, this is just me. Like you find your voice over time. And I'm sure if anybody is an active podcaster right now, they can tell you the same thing. It's like everybody's really nervous about putting themselves out there. Does my voice sound stupid? Do I have an accent? Do I have like something going on with my voice that I'm a little insecure about or self-conscious about? I'm very loud. Like this is just a known fact about me. You ask anybody that knows me and they're like, oh yeah, we all wish Crystal had a volume button because she's way too loud. So I kind of held back. I reserved some of that whenever I first started because I thought, well, people don't want to know this loud person that I am. They want to know a more reserved, put together, professional, whatever. But the more that I was myself, I was able to kind of settle into finding my voice and being able to, just be myself. So okay, so Lisa, always super helpful content, Crystal. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa, so much for being just a part of our community. I treasure you and all the fun things that you always say. You always add insightful things to our community. So Susan says, do you randomly put them out or do you have bonuses come out somewhat predictably? Example, I put out my podcast on Wednesdays When I have bonuses, do I put them out on Fridays? I hope that makes sense. Yes. So, Susan, in today's particular episode, when we talked about having extra time, I like in your podcast monthly allowance, if you're like, oh man, I have 30 minutes, I should go ahead and put out another bonus episode. I would just put it out in the time allotted that you have just to put out an extra episode. But if you're talking about bonus episodes in general, I like to have them pretty predictable. So which of course I am I'm pretty crazy about my content calendar. Like I actually have it open up like in the background right now as we speak because I'm constantly in there tweaking, looking at it, looking at, what's coming up over the next few weeks, what's coming up over the next few months. And I always kind of have a pulse on what's going on within my industry and within my own business. So whenever I advise people to put out bonus content is, do they have something coming up that they really want to talk about that they hadn't planned on talking about? So if you have all of your content, let's say planned out, all of October and all of November is absolutely planned out. You're like, this is just what it's going to be. But you put your stuff out on every Wednesday and you realize, oh man, I just did an incredible Facebook Live with someone and I know that my listeners would find value in it. If you put your content out on a Wednesday, I think it's perfectly fine to put it out on Friday or even on a Saturday if that works for your audience. If you think your audience is more likely to tune in on a Saturday, then put it out there. And then whenever it comes to bonuses, just like with anything else with podcasting, I like to test with an open mind, meaning you could try it on a Friday and then realize, oh, that was a terrible time. Next time I'm going to put a bonus on a Monday and see if that works better. Or I'm going to try it on, maybe a Tuesday or a different day. But I want you to just have the open mind of trying things out, testing, pivoting, like evolving with your audience and what they're doing. But you really won't know until you start putting it out there. But yeah, I love if you're already putting out on Wednesday, try it on a Friday, see how it works, and then kind of plan to have a few bonuses sprinkled in throughout. I'm just a coach. Like this is innately in me, like inside of me, who I am. I'm going to challenge you in November and then the month of December, put out 2 bonus episodes. Try one on a Wednesday or not Wednesday. You publish on Wednesday. Try one on a Friday in November, let's say. And then in December, try one on a Monday and see what the results, see what they are. Like compare them and see how it worked. Did one work better than the other? So I want you to test it out. So that's my challenge to you, Susan. I hope that you'll put in the comment that, you'll try it out because I think that could work really well for you. So AT says, how do you separate your podcast from like your real life family? So I podcast as a business. My podcast is part of my business and I teach podcasting. So I do this when my kids are at school and it's what I do on a regular basis. So this is my business and that might not be the case for everybody. I know a lot of people kind of come into my world of podcasting by way of being a hobby podcaster, but then they decide, oh, I can actually monetize and make money with my podcast. And so it shifts from being something you do on the weekends to something you can do as a business with strategy. Now, that might mean you still do it on the weekend or you still do it after your kids go to bed or whatever that looks like for you. But that's how I kind of made the shift from just podcasting as a hobby to doing it as a business. So that's a great question. Yeah. Or separating, is it hard? It is hard to separate, the hobby side of it to the business side of it and then interacting with your family. So if you find it hard to really kind of separate out that time, I would actually create shorter podcasts and batch or plan more episodes at one time or record all of them at one time. So it would be easier to take an entire Saturday or Sunday or whatever that looks like for you and record an entire month in one setting as opposed to recording every single week. That'll make it a lot easier. Do you believe video podcasting is a must? And did you begin with video and audio? No. No. I started recording my podcast behind closed doors, which I'm so glad that I did because I screwed up so much in the beginning. I messed up more times than I even want to admit in so many different ways whenever I first started my podcast. So, while I like the idea of having a live video show just like this and then turning it into a podcast, I don't tend to do this very often. Like I could actually take this video that we're creating here, download it and turn it into a bonus episode because I think that my listeners would find value in it. The questions that you're asking right now would be super valuable to listeners in my audience. But I don't do that very often because it's kind of distracting if you are creating something for video and then you repurpose it with audio, but people can't see what you're talking about. So I'm sitting here reading AT's his comments that are in, on the video, but if you were listening on a podcast, she might be like, "What? Who is she talking? Is she talking to somebody? Like, what's happening?" So it could be a little distracting if you're doing. My name is Jay Fresh the God. Okay, sorry. I see. I said it wrong. Okay, so I'm just. Can I call you AT? Is that gonna work? Or just Jay Fresh? Does that work better? Oh my gosh, that's funny. But no, I didn't start with audio and video because it's hard. I mean, I started with Facebook Live probably in 2018. Actually, I started with Periscope. If we're going to go way back, I started with Periscope. I did my first Periscope video in like 2015, and that was hard. I remember I was shaking. I was literally shaking before I went live, and nobody even watched. This was before Facebook Live was even a thing. And I remember just being really scared about it. But now I can show up on camera and do this a lot easier because I've been doing it for a long time at this point. I've recorded hundreds of live videos and it doesn't make me as nervous. But when you're starting out that way, if you are not comfortable on video, do not try to do a video podcast because it's distracting. There's a lot of things going on. You got to answer comments or not answer comments, and you see one go by that throws you off, and you're like, wait, what was that? Do I need to go back and read that? And honestly, some people just have to learn how to look at the camera because if you don't, like, I can see myself. There's a screen right here, but I'm not looking at that. And I can see comments scrolling right here, but I'm not looking at that. I'm looking directly into the lens of my camera, and that takes practice. And so if you are starting out with video podcasting, it's kind of challenging to do that from the very beginning. Did you have a logo and name made before actually starting podcasting? No. So I didn't have a business prior to, let's go back to the very, very beginning, right? I kind of had a brand before I started podcasting, but whenever I was in the process of launching my podcast, I decided to develop the logo and the branding, and it was kind of in theme with what I was doing prior. Had a blog for a short period of time, and I used kind of that same theme and used it for my podcast. I've since rebranded my show to what it is today. It's the Profit Podcast, but previously it was the Rookie Life Podcast. And you can actually go back to the beginning of the Profit Podcast and hear, like, those are actual episodes. I didn't go back and change them. I didn't make them better. I didn't do anything to them. They are what they are. And I do that to show, like, this is the progression of my podcast. But if you are just getting started, having a logo and a name made before you start podcasting is important, only because you want to be consistent whenever you talk about your show within your show. Like if you're saying, hey, thanks for listening to the Profit Podcast, like that's a lot easier to say than like, hey, thanks for listening to my podcast. You want to start that branding because that will make marketing your show a lot easier as time goes on. And I love having a logo made before you launch your show because, one, you have to. If you upload to Buzzsprout or another hosting provider, you have to have your logo created to get connected to Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, all the main places. But also, you want to start telling people way before you ever even launch. You want to say, hey, I got my microphone in. I'm going to start this podcast. Like, come with me on this journey. Because then, whenever you do actually launch, people are going to be excited about it because they're going to know about it because you've been talking about it. So, that's a great question. The at is only because I couldn't use the at sign. Okay. So, I still just want to call you AT though, instead of at, like just AT. So, well, can you settle for J Fresh? Okay. J Fresh is easy to remember. Oh my gosh, y'all. I hope that you found this helpful today. I am going to start doing my regularly scheduled Facebook lives again and YouTube lives. So thank you so much for being here with me today. Let me know if you have any other questions. Post them in the comments below. And I will see you again on Thursday, hopefully around 1 p.m. Central. That's what I'm thinking. If you have a different time that works better for you, let me know in the comments. But that is what we have for now. So have a fantastic Taco Tuesday, and I'll talk to you later.